Hi guys. I am going to answer and tell the story. First of all, I apologize. My mind wasn't in the right frame, or I didn't really read my post after. Just wanted to keep everyone informed of what had happened. It was one of the most scariest things. So I want to thank each of you for reaching out to us, for asking us how Leelah is doing, for praying for us. We would not have been able to get through it without all of you, our family, our friends, our ministers, our church, just praying for her. I want to kick this off by saying she's better. Thankfully, the MRI showed that she does not have any tumors, and there was no other signs of any neurological reasons why she lost her ability to walk. But I do know a lot of you guys want to know the story, and I apologize, I just have not been able to reach out to all of you back. I tried my best, but I have such a great and huge gratitude for everybody, all of you, because you guys, just the love that you showed for our little girl, I can't express my gratitude to each of you all. But I'm going to tell you the story. So Friday, my daughter had her 4-year-old physical or appointment, annual checkup with her pediatrician. And that morning, because we live a ways away, she got up, she walked down the stairs, she walked to the car, she was talking to us, everything was fine, and she fell asleep. When we got to her pediatric appointment, when she got down from the car, she was waddling and she was a little unstable, and she was like, "Look at me, Mama, I'm a penguin." And she was joking around, so I didn't think anything of it. We saw her pediatrician. Her pediatrician, she was climbing up and down. She was doing all the things that she needed to do. But she was still walking funny. But we thought she was just playing. She had a stamp of good health, and they said, "See you in a year, unless otherwise needed." And we noticed her walking was still the same, and we're like, what is going on? So we asked her pediatrician to come back. Now, I do want to, I know a lot of you guys are going to have opinions about vaccinations and things like that. She did get her updated vaccines on her arms, but the thing is, this happened or started before she got the vaccines. Okay, so let's just rule that out. Even her pediatrician thought it might have been the vaccines, but it didn't. It was in her arms. And then she started assessing Leelah. She had Leelah climb up and down a chair. She checked their reflexes. She was squatting. But the moment that Leelah needed to walk or run, it was like she couldn't. Her legs were so stiff, and she was walking like this. Like, imagine my legs are like that. And so she also asked another doctor in the department, and they both assessed her, and they both couldn't confidently say, "Go home." They said, "Go to the ER." We went to the Children's Hospital in Orange County, and they said, "Go to the ER now." So thankfully, it's within pretty much the same medical group. And when we got there, they quickly brought her in because of the call of her pediatrician. And it was scary. You had a huge group of doctors just asking questions, assessing her, asking her to raise her arms, this, that, and the other, touch her nose. And she was ruled out because they were afraid she would have had a childhood stroke, which was ruled out. So then after we waited for several hours before we were able to get a room, and by that time when they tested Leelah, her walking declined significantly. Her reflexes declined, and she didn't have the ability to stand up straight. She couldn't put one foot in front of another. And as the hours went by, she lost more and more mobility. The doctors what really kind of puzzled them is that she had the ability to move her arms. She was talking. There was nothing there. And when she was laying down at the beginning, she was able to kick up. She was able to kick this way, put her toes this way, her feet that way, I meant, and then wiggle her toes. Eventually, that got to a point where she couldn't lift her legs up and things like that as well. There were theories of what it could be. And first of all, it may sound like, they were just kind of all over the place, but I do want to thank all of the staff at Chalk Hospital because they really, really, really did an amazing job with Leelah, with us, trying to really make us informed as much as possible. I want to thank her pediatrician. Her pediatrician was keeping up to date with the updated notes and constantly calling me, kind of saying, hey, this is what the recent note said, and this is what it means. And she put it in the most simplest terms for me and my husband to understand. There were so many theories. GBS was one of them. It's a paralyzation from the feet up. And because of how quickly this is, like hours of her basically being paralyzed, they were afraid that it was going to go up all the way up to her neck and affect her breathing, her speech, all of that. And, potentially it could kill somebody. And so they needed to make sure that they monitored her for that. And because she was sick, they thought it was an infection or inflammation in the back of her neck, her head. It could have been that. Tumors. There was just so many different doctors saying different things of what it could potentially be. And there were so many doctors of different specialties that was seeing her. But nobody could give us an answer. And so they were the group of them were determining what the best route to take. And they drew blood, which if you've ever seen, for anybody who's ever had an IV, it's painful. Imagine a 4-year-old going through that twice because they couldn't. The first time they found it, but then they lost the vein, so they had to do it again. And then a 4-year-old seeing them taking blood out of them. And it was just super heartbreaking. And the hospital was so nice. They gave my daughter like this big Wish plushie. And they just really just went above and beyond everything I could have expected. I'm sure the bill is going to match that. But you know what? It's fine. So finally they're like, okay, we need to do an MRI because they got a urine sample that checked out. The blood sample checked out. And then her reflexes were significantly diminishing, close to nothing. They checked us in, and the thing is that everyone is so sick right now. What took so long, we were probably in the ER room for about 8 hours because of the fact that they had to put kids who are non-infectious with kids who are non-infectious, and the hospital was just filled. And nurses were saying like this was one of the worst viruses that's affecting kids. Many kids are getting seizures. Many kids are losing sight, hearing, ability to walk. It's just, there's just been so many side effects with this particular virus, this flu virus. So it took us about 8 hours to be able to get a room. Finally, we were there. They checked on her fever. She started getting fever. They put the IV on her. She couldn't eat. And before she was, and also something that I felt like, it felt like she lost the ability to control when she needed to go potties because she kept wetting the bed. And I don't know if it's because she didn't want to say and get up because she was attached to all of these scary things or what. And then before the MRI, we went through the night. They were nonstop looking at her, rushing if there was any vitals that went down. They kept such a close eye on her, and I'm very grateful for that. And then they just tested for GBS throughout the night as well. And then on top of that, they said, okay, well, she's going to be scheduled for her MRI tomorrow at 10:30. And that was the most nerve-wracking for my husband and I. And it was so hard because we had to put a brave face on. Every time she would see one of us cry, she would cry as well. And I'm sure it was really scary for her. And then I think I broke down. I don't think, I know I broke down because she had to go through anesthesia because she had to keep still inside the dome for an hour. And if you've ever had your kid go on anesthesia, you understand what I'm talking about. They put the medicine, they rub her shoulders, and her body just stiffened. And then she relaxed, and her eyes rolled to the back of her head. And it literally looked like she died. That's all I can say. It looked like she died. And I just lost it. I lost it. And even though they were like, she's okay, mom, this is normal, it just, my mind could no longer comprehend what I was seeing and what I was feeling. And so then, you know, we had our minister over in Garden Grove came and prayed. They called us in the recover. They woke her up pretty much instantly. And then they wheeled her back into her room after being in PACU recovery for about half an hour, 45 minutes or something like that. My best friend came, and at that time, well, now the hospital wasn't allowing anybody aside from parents and a sibling of the patient that's over 12, because everyone was, I mean, it was sick. All you hear was wails and cries, and it was just, every room was filled. And so they weren't allowing anyone to go in. Thank God they allow our minister to come in. But so I'm chatting with her downstairs because Leelah is still recovering and all that. My husband calls me and says, okay, before this, they said that we were not going to get the results until that evening. And, you know, we were expecting to stay another night. And then what happened was after 40 minutes, my husband calls me and say, hey, they're here. You need to come up. So I'm like rushing upstairs, and I see 2 neurologists. They're telling my daughter to do all these things, sit down, stand up. And I'm like watching my daughter. And I don't know what you believe in, and I'm not here to tell you what to believe in, but I know my faith, and I know that at that moment, God really stepped in and just helped her. Because she went from not being able to walk to being able to sit down on the ground and stand up. At this time, my husband's still not telling me what's happening, and no one, so I'm seeing all this, they're doing reflex, and they're saying her reflexes are back to normal. And then they're like, oh, the physical therapist is going to come. And finally, they told me that her MRI was normal, which that was the best news that I could ever hear. And so luckily there was no tumors. And then after a while, a physical therapist came, and they are suggesting, or they have ordered a physical therapy after no school or being around children, in case she falls. It's a liability, not just for Leelah. I mean, it could be worse for Leelah, but also for the school, and I don't want to put them in that situation. And she has a lot of follow-up appointments. So she's still weak, to answer everybody. She's still weak. She's not 100%. She can't walk long. She has trouble walking up and down the stairs. And so she still has a long recovery, even based on what the doctors are saying. It could be weeks before she regains her full strength back. But I know that it was God that stepped in, because even with the tumors, the doctors were like, they should have seen some kind of inflammation in the back of her head. They should have seen that, but everything came out normal. So I went to church on Sunday, and it was like I stepped in, and I just had this overwhelming sense of gratitude and thanks, because when we needed God to step in, He stepped in. And I truly believe it's because all the love you guys showed, your prayers for our little girl. So I just want to say thank you all. we're kind of in limbo right now. We have to see her pediatrician, which I am waiting on scheduling, and then see a physical therapist, and hopefully they can approve a physical therapist that's more local to where we are. But that's where we are right now. Leelah has been so traumatized and not herself. She'll just lay down and stare, and she'll say random comments like, "Mom, the doctors did a lot of scary things. I never want to go back to the doctors. I never want to go back to the hospital. That was the most scariest thing in my life." Or, this 4-year-old that's telling me these things. And so I know she's super traumatized. She's super tired. And we're just trying to take it one day at a time. Her attitude is so different. She's very cranky and crabby, and it's just so different. But anyways, I wanted to jump on, share all of this. I know this is a long video, but thank you guys so much. And we extend our love and thanks to each and every one of you. All right, bye.
Yeah.
Your bunny is watching you?
Yeah. Hands together.
Yeah. You're so silly.
But now you cannot take the picture here.
Oh, okay.
Day 2. Thank you, Tita Jenny.
Thank you, Tita Johnny.
And Kuya Zayden.
And Kuya.
Say everything is normal.
Everything is normal.
And I get to go home.
And I get to go home.
Yay!